What is up, harvesters? Welcome back to the returning viewers, and if you're brand new here, welcome to Hobby Harvest. My name is Ken. So I am out of my basement today, studio today, and I am out standing in my field. So today I want to talk to you guys about how we are going to keep our food plots covered with growth that we control throughout the growing season so that we don't even have to worry about dealing with weeds, which is really useful because A, this is going to really help build our soil, and B, we do not have to use chemicals to spray and kill off those weeds. So this is gonna be a bit of a shorter video, but I'm gonna take you step by step through what I am doing here in June to terminate what came up this spring and plant what is going to stay as a cover crop over this food plot until I'm ready to plant my fall focused food plot mixes in about the middle of August here for Zone 5B in southeastern Wisconsin. So let's get started with it. What we're looking at right now is the leftover or remnant cereal grain that was planted last year. So at the end of your season, or maybe even for your food plot, you are just planting a cereal grain like winter rye, for example, here in Wisconsin does really well. But what I did in this food plot is I planted my typical beans, peas, dressed with a bit of oats as a nurse crop, and then the other half was brassicas. But what I do is I come in and I throw down winter rye in any bare spots, and then as we get later into the season here in Wisconsin, because it gets colder, I will typically throw down some more winter rye just to get it to have some extra growth at that very end of the growing season. So what that leaves me with is an entire food plot here covered in primarily winter rye, although there are some oats out here too. Either way, it's a cereal grain. So what happens is these come up in the spring right away as soon as it starts to get warm out, and they smother out everything else in this food plot. So I do have some other weeds out here. I have some thistles, I have some goldenrod growing in here, but very, very minimal. This is majority just rye and oats out here. So you want to get out here though and terminate this while it is still in its dough stage. And so what I mean by that is the seed heads will have formed, but they have not gone to seed yet. So if you pull these apart, they're still really squishy and they're almost juicy here. And that is when you want to come out and terminate this, because if you wait longer and you terminate it once that seed has become an actual seed that you could plant, you're going to essentially plant that all into your food plot. And you might be like, great, free seed, why wouldn't I do that? Well, the reason being is timing. So right now, like I said, we're about the end of June. If I were to wait for this to go to seed, it's gonna take another couple weeks probably, and then I terminate it, replanting all of that seed, I'm gonna have it come back up again in about September when it would hit this dough stage again. So about the start of the hunting season, the start of the bow season, I'm gonna be left with a food plot that looks exactly like what I'm standing in right now. And I don't want that because this isn't attractive to the deer herd come fall hunting season. They like that young, tender growth. So that's what I need growing in the food plot come hunting season. So it's the timing of why we need to terminate this in its dough stage, but we do need to get something planted in here. Otherwise those weeds are just gonna come right back up and we're gonna be dealing with those in August. So what I did already was came through here and planted buckwheat throughout this whole food plot. I just seeded into the standing cereal grain. And what that's gonna do is act as my summer cover crop. It also acts as a soil builder, as does all of this organic material that's growing out here that I'm about to terminate as well. So you're just going cycle through cycle of adding all of that nice organic matter to your soil, just building your soil crop after crop throughout the year. You're gonna get a total of about 3 crops, being the cereal grain in the spring or early summer here. You're going to get that buckwheat, and then you're gonna get your actual fall focused forage mixes that you're going to put out for your food plot. So you're gonna get 3 plantings of organic material added to your soil every single season if you do this. And that's also gonna keep your soil covered with things that outcompete the weeds all season long as well. So you don't have to worry about weeds out here. So when you guys have probably noticed that if you ever have exposed soil, Mother Nature does whatever she can to make sure something is growing in that soil, because loose soil leads to erosion, it leads to it blowing away, it leads to all of that nice organic topsoil being completely wasted, blown away, washed downstream, whatever. And we really don't want that to happen because it takes years and years and years just to build just a little bit of topsoil. So we want to make sure that we preserve whatever we have, and we don't also want the weeds, so we need to keep it covered with these types of things that we have out here. So let's get into it. I'm going to terminate all of this cereal grain by rolling over it. I just have a lawn roller on the back of a four-wheeler that should do a decent enough job at crimping it, and it again will do a very good job when this is in the dough stage. If you try to terminate this too early before it gets these seed heads formed, the stalks aren't going to want to crimp as easily, and they're also going to want to spring back up and grow again. So because this plant has already decided that it is going to seed, it is done trying to grow the plant itself, and it is 100% focused on that seed head right now. So if we terminate or crimp that plant, it's not going to try to grow the plant anymore, and the seed head will be cut off from a water supply, so it won't grow either. We will essentially be laying down straw over the top of all of the buckwheat seed that we planted in here. That straw will suppress the weeds that are in here until that buckwheat can get started and get growing. And once that grows, that will of course outcompete all of those weeds and keep them blocked from the sun as well, which will prevent them from growing until we have a chance again in August to come back in here and get those food plot mixes growing to attract our deer herd for the fall hunting season. While we roll this beautiful B-roll footage, I just wanted to hop in here quick and mention a couple things. So I did not put any water in that lawn roller. It did a really good job without all that extra weight in there, so you don't have to take the time to do that. And also I seeded the buckwheat at 100 pounds per acre. Now let's get back to younger me. All right, so let's do a walk and talk. We haven't done one of those in a while. So you guys will be able to see what I did out here as it comes over my shoulders behind me. But so we crimped all of the cereal grain out here. And if you guys look over my shoulder behind here, that is still that switchgrass screen there. So we do have the food plot still screened behind me here. That switchgrass is about, I don't know, chest high on me. I'm a little over 6 feet tall. So that is going to grow up and be a really nice screen around this food plot by the time fall hits, we get into that fall hunting season. So this food plot is screened, and it'll be this nice little honey hole here in the middle of there's a field off to one side and there's woods off to the other. So it's a really perfect area to stick a food plot in here that gets the deer coming in here right before dark so we can get a shot on them. So what we did though here is we crimped all of the cereal grain, and it lays down now like a mat of straw. And so all of that should be terminated now. I'm sure I'll have some things popping up in here, but nothing too crazy. And there of course is all of that buckwheat seeded down in here as well. So all of that buckwheat will germinate and then come up, and it'll grow faster and more lush and leaf out a lot better than any of those other weeds or anything else that would possibly be coming up in here. So it's going to really outcompete them, plus it's going to also build my soil. Now earlier in the video I talked about how I have bald spots from time to time in my food plot, and I fill those in with cereal grain. I come over here and then spin around so you guys can see it. We got a big pop-up thunderstorm last night. The thunder was absolutely rattling the house, and so of course it also then floods out this back portion of my food plot here. There's a creek like right through that screen right there. And so we are down in the floodplain down here in this part of the plot. As I walk back this way, we get up to more highland, so this area doesn't flood out, and I get a decent stand of food plot up here. But behind me, I will get this flooding back there, and then of course it floods my seeds out and does all sorts of stuff to not get growth down there. So a lot of times I do need to fill in down there late season, depending on how much rain and water we're getting. But the other reasons too is sometimes I have turkeys just come out here and they scratch through and eat my seed. I have tried something where I will keep the four-wheeler running while I'm seeding, and I always had the theory that the turkeys could hear the seed hitting the soil. And I think that with the four-wheeler running, then they can't hear it. And then that has been effective for me in that they haven't come and scratched and stole all my seed. Now it could be a huge coincidence of just a random correlation, or it might actually work, but no harm in just letting the four-wheeler run while I throw seed down for a few minutes. So I've gone with that, and if for whatever reason they do find it and scratch through, I'll let you guys know that that actually didn't work, because I'll have proof that it didn't. But just a good thing to do is get out here, make sure you take care of these weeds, and you can do that without chemicals. And that may be for, you know, you don't want to use them, or they do cost a lot too, so it saves on the cost of the chemicals. But great way to just get this mat of straw down now to fight those weeds. That buckwheat will come up. We're gonna grow buckwheat for about 6 to 7 weeks, and then we're gonna get these fall food plots in here for the hunting season. I wish you guys luck this season. I hope you fill your harvest goals. I hope you don't run into too much trouble getting all these food plots and stuff in. If you guys enjoyed this content, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps to support the channel and let it grow to other people. And if you really enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you're gonna enjoy this one. Otherwise, go check out this one. I'll catch you on the next one.